And the question that I wanted to know, Seth, and maybe this is just contrived in my mind and you tell me if it is, but before Stetson Bennett found success, like, let's just like go back to the 2 years ago when he was named the starter and is starting his path this way. Like, was there this thought process that Kirby Smart blunders his quarterbacks, or is that just me? Like, was that a thing in Georgia?
That was, I mean, we've gone back and forth about Fields versus Fromm.
But not even just that. I just mean in general, like all of it.
Yeah. That was the main impetus for it, though. Like, nobody thought that they picked the wrong one his first year. They had Grayson Lambert coming back, but Jacob Eason, 5-star, just got in there. Kirby knew they weren't going to be a great team that year, so he played Eason early. Said, let's get him the experience now. And then Jake Fromm goes in the next year when Eason gets hurt, and Fromm never loses the job. 2018 is Fields Fromm. 2019, there was never a debate between Jake Fromm and his only scholarship backup, who was this former walk-on who could never do anything like lead the team to a national championship or be a Heisman finalist, even though he ended up doing that. 2020, that guy, I mean, honestly, like, 2020, Jamie Newman opts out. It's between Dwan Mathis and JT Daniels. JT Daniels not clear. Dwan Mathis starts. Stetson Bennett rescues them, and then the Stetson Bennett story begins at that point.
Right.
You could look back on it with full hindsight, if you wanted to now, and say, how did they never realize what they had the whole time with Stetson Bennett? Which would be great revisionist history, because everybody,
but also too, when he formed
into,
like, Seth, he wasn't at the beginning what he became at the beginning either.
No,
like there has to be some sort of like development there. Yeah.
I mean, there would be defensive players on Georgia's 2017 team who will tell you, "Oh, we could tell all along when he was a true freshman walk-on that guy was really good because he was a scout team." They were the ones who told him to transfer. They said, "Get out of here because you need to go somewhere to play. You're too good not to play." And he ended up playing at Georgia after that long circuitous path. But yeah, the Stetson Bennett experience has kind of validated Kirby, and you don't hear anybody anymore saying, well, he's going to screw up this choice.
Okay, yeah, because I wondered, like, if this is a big time decision for him, if there any of that was lingering. But how do you have that linger when you win a back-to-back national championships with a walk-on? But like, I thought to myself that, like, well, why were they ever in a position where Stetson Bennett needed to save them? Was an interesting discussion. And then 2 years removed from that, you have a 5-star quarterback, and I think Stockton was a fringe 5-star, right? And it's like now neither of those two are ready to take over, and you kind of get that old feeling of like, well, what's going on there? But if Beck is really good, then you have no choice but to accept that, given what we saw with Stetson, right?
Yeah, and Beck, it's funny. There are people who act like he was a 5-star, but no, he was like 250 overall. He's developed.
But do you remember the circumstances of Beck though?
Yeah.
Beck's from Jacksonville. Florida and Georgia both wanted him.
Yeah.
Georgia takes Beck, and then Florida takes Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. Yeah.
That they were waiting on Beck's decision before offering the future first rounder who grew up 5 miles from campus.
That's like Kirby coming to Georgia and flipping Jake Fromm from Alabama, and Alabama says, okay, we're going to go get Tua Tagovailoa now.
Yeah. Well, there could be a book written about quarterback dominoes for sure. Like, think about just like, if this person didn't take this person, then what did this person ended up? It's pretty remarkable, more so than any other position in recruiting, like what that can mean. So, but yeah, I mean, like, Georgia to me is the clear favorite to win the national championship this year. And it's like, I don't feel like I'm waiting for their quarterback decision to think that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing when we say no one's sitting here saying, will Kirby screw up this decision? He could screw it up. And I think he's probably afraid of doing that, which is why they may make the conservative choice, quote unquote, and go with Carson Beck, because do no harm, rather than go with the guy who some may say has more upside in Brock Vandegrift. But that also may not be fair to Carson Beck. I mean, maybe Carson Beck does have more upside. He might play better right away because he's now in his 4th year in college. But
and I know I said this earlier on the show, and I don't like know, like, Andy, you said it first, but I kind of agreed with you. But like, looking back at it, it's like, can Georgia pick the wrong person? It's like, on the surface with the talent they have on that roster, probably not. But I also saw a defending national champion mess up a pretty high profile quarterback battle, and it ruined their entire season the next year, despite the fact they had like 12 first round draft picks on their roster. So like, I do think that there is, even if it's not the person, or if all three of them would be moderately good to great in that offense, there's team dynamics. There's being sure about who your guy is. You start playing musical quarterbacks in week 3 against whoever they're playing. It just kind of messes with the mojo of a team, I think. So, getting cute the way you phrased it earlier, I think is a major thing that can have a negative impact on a season. Like I've seen it firsthand with a team that shouldn't have lost to anybody. I
also think there are some non-SEC teams that were sitting there going, okay, one of these guys is going to be in the portal after the spring. And Seth, I don't get the sense that you feel that way.
I won't be shocked if one jumps in. You never can anymore. I just will say there's been no buzz to that effect. Ask me again Sunday morning, maybe. And everyone talks about how spring games are overrated, and to a large extent they are. They're just the one day that everybody gets to see the team. Right. But at a quarterback competition this seemingly close and important, if one guy, like if Carson Beck looks really good, then maybe Brock Vandagriff, who probably has already had people in his ear saying, why he would
seem to be the one that the people would be most likely to tamper with, because Carson Beck looks like the front runner, and Gunnar Stockton is young enough to say, well, if Carson Beck has a great 1 year here, he may go to the NFL.
Also, you've got the specter of Dylan Raiola. Am I pronouncing his last name right?
Yes.
Yeah. I need to get that, because right now he seems to be favored to Georgia. When does if he commits, when does he commit?
USC's got Cliff Kingsbury now.
I guess
they're going to make that run.
But yeah,
with analyst Cliff Kingsbury,
whoever wins the job, if there is a winner between now and the preseason, knows they've at least got 1 year. Yeah. The one who loses the job says,
well, I have a competition with the number 1 overall player coming in.
Right.
Right.